An investment project costs $15,000 and has annual cash flows of $4,300 a year for 6 years. What is the discounted payback period if the discount rate is 0%? What if the discount rate is 5%? And what if the discount rate is 19%? When the discount rate is 0%, the present value of all the cash flows equals the actual cash flows. So to calculate the payback period, we can use the simple payback formula for even cash flows, where we take the initial project cost of $15,000 and divide it by the annual cash flows of the project, which were $4,300. The discounted payback period, when the interest rate is 0%, is 3.49 years. Now, when our discount rate is 5%, we first need to calculate the present value of each one of the cash flows. The $15,000 cash outflow at time 0 has a present value of $15,000. The year 1 cash flow of $4,300 needs to be discounted back one period at 5%. The year 2 cash flow of $4,300 needs to be discounted back 2 periods at 5%. The year 3 cash flow, 3 years at 5%. The year 4 cash flow needs to be discounted back 4 years at 5%. The year 5 cash flow, 5 years at 5%. And the year 6 cash flow, 6 years at 5% interest. Once we've calculated the present value of each one of the cash flows, we need to start keeping track of the cumulative cash flows on our project. At time 0, we have an initial cash outflow of $15,000, and we have a negative cumulative cash flow. After 1 year, when we receive a present value of $4,095, our cumulative negative cash flow is reduced to $10,905. In year 2, we receive a present value of $3,900, which reduces our cumulative negative cash flow to $7,005. After 3 years, our cumulative negative cash flow is $3,290. And finally, in the 4th year, we have a positive cumulative cash flow. This means that our payback occurs sometime in the 4th year. So our payback period will be 3 years plus the $3,290, which was our remaining cash deficit in year 3, divided by the $3,538, which was the present value of the cash flows we received in year 4. The discounted payback period for the project at a 5% interest rate is 3.93 years. At a 19% discount rate, the payback period will get pushed off farther in time. This is because the present value of each of our cash flows will decrease. Let's go ahead and calculate the present value of each of our cash flows at a 19% interest rate. Again, the initial cash outflow at time 0 has a present value of negative $15,000. The $4,300 we receive in year 1 needs to be discounted back 1 year at a 19% interest rate. The year 2 cash flow needs to be discounted back at 19% for 2 years. The year 3 cash flow needs to be discounted back at 19% for 3 years. The year 4 cash flow should be discounted back at 19% for 4 years. The year 5 cash flow will be discounted back at 19% for 5 years, and the year 6 cash flow will be discounted back at 19% for 6 years. Our cumulative cash flows then are as follows. At time 0, we have a negative cash outflow of $15,000. In year 1, we receive a present value of $3,613, so our cumulative negative cash flow is reduced to $11,387. In year 2, we receive a present value of $3,037, further reducing our negative cumulative cash flow. In year 3, we receive a present value of $2,552, which reduces our cumulative negative cash flow to $5,798. In year 4, our cumulative cash flow is reduced to $3,654. In year 5, our cumulative negative cash flow is reduced to $1,852. And finally, in year 6, when we receive the last $4,300, our cumulative negative cash flow is still negative. This means our payback period is infinite. It never happens. This project will never recover its initial investment.